Thank you, Jane. Welcome to Look North. On the programme tonight, maternity services in 2 Leeds hospitals are downgraded to inadequate following an unannounced inspection.
There are so many families who knew that this was the truth, and to actually see it for the first time recorded in some form of report or writing is what we and so many other families have been fighting for.
We'll speak to the Trust's Chief Executive, Phil Wood, also tonight. The vote on assisted dying narrowly passes. Will have reaction to today's events in Parliament. A new cancer charity set up in memory of 17-year-old Liz Hatton is launched in Harrogate tonight.
And it's been another hot day, but how long will the heat last? I'll have more details for you towards the end of the programme.
Good evening and thank you for joining us. Maternity services at 2 Leeds hospitals have been downgraded from good to inadequate by the healthcare regulator because their failings posed a significant risk to women and babies. For years, concerns about the quality of care and staffing levels on the wards have been raised by patients and staff. Well, following an unannounced inspection in December, the Trust has been issuing a warning notice, meaning that it must take immediate action to improve. In a moment, we'll hear from the Chief Executive of Leeds Teaching Hospitals. But first, let's take a closer look at the report's findings. Well, the Care Quality Commission highlighted a number of concerns in the maternity units at LGI and St James's Hospital. These included people being not safe and at risk of avoidable harm. Babies and families not always being supported and treated with dignity and respect. Staff being reluctant to raise concerns and incidents because the Trust had a blame culture. Staff, despite being passionate about their work, struggling to provide their desired standard of care because of staffing issues. Well, many families have come forward to tell us about their experiences of inadequate care at the Trust, including parents who say their babies suffered avoidable injury or death. Let's remind ourselves of some of their stories.
Over the past 6 months, the BBC has spoken to 67 families who all say they experienced poor maternity care in Leeds. This includes parents who say their babies died as a result.
I was, 24 years old, having to birth a dead child, and it comes down to the care that people are receiving is way below standard.
I saw her beautiful little face and I held her hand, and I just wanted to warm her up because it's what any mother wants to do.
We've all been made to feel like it's a one-off.
You're the first person who I've met who has been into hospital multiple times previous to then lose the child who hasn't been listened to, because that's what happened to me.
Independent reviews found there were mistakes in the care provided to these families, but the services then were rated good. Today, the healthcare regulator downgraded that to inadequate and said failings at both hospitals posed a significant risk to women and babies.
It makes horrific reading. There are so many families who knew that this was the truth, and to actually see it for the first time recorded in some form of report or writing is what we and so many other families have been fighting for.
Fiona's daughter, Aliona, died at the LGI in 2020. A coroner said her death was a result of gross failures and neglect by midwives.
My daughter died due to neglect. It was not a good hospital then, and it's clearly not a good hospital now. This is too late. This report should have been coming out years ago.
Data obtained by the BBC shows there were 56 potentially preventable deaths of babies and 2 of mothers between 2019 and mid-2024. The Trust has said it's deeply sorry and remains committed to providing safe care. But the families want an urgent, independent review of maternity services here, and they're calling on the government to take action. Nicola Rees, BBC Look North, Leeds.
Well, earlier I spoke to the Chief Executive of Leeds Teaching Hospitals, Professor Phil Wood. I started by asking him if he was prepared to apologise to the families affected by poor care at Leeds General Infirmary and St James's.
The report's got some significant failings identified in the services we provide, and I offer my profound apology to those families where our care has failed them and their loved ones.
Maternity services rated inadequate, neonatal services in terms of safety inadequate. That's not good enough, is it?
The report really shows some of the areas we need to improve on, and what I would say is that the Care Quality Commission rated us as good in 2023, but a year ago we recognised we needed to put more investment into staffing, and since the CQC have inspected us, we've recruited up to 55 midwives. We've got 11 left to do, which will get us up to the national recommended staffing.
Yeah, I mean, one of the problems was a lack of staffing. There was a blame culture rather than a learning culture. That's a quite serious finding, isn't it?
Yeah, so I want to also apologise to our staff on the front line. It's clear that we haven't listened to them as much as we should have done, as well as not listening to families. And we also haven't created the environment in which they can feel free to raise concerns so that we can act on them. And I'm sorry to our staff who do a brilliant job around that as well.
So there's a problem with general culture. I mean, obviously we've also highlighted problems, we've seen problems about dirty areas and medicines not being managed, but that can be solved relatively quickly. We can clean wards, etc. But what about that culture, that problem with the culture?
So since the CQC came to visit us in December, we have addressed some of the issues around medicines management, around infection prevention and control. We've also instigated a much better culture of listening to staff with regular meetings that I'm going to face with staff. We've appointed additional midwife leaders to be much more available to staff on the front line.
Now, this is one of the biggest trusts in the country. This report has been a long time coming. There were many families who raised their concerns. What would you say to families relying on your services now, today?
I would say that as a trust, we deliver over 8,500 babies every year, and the vast majority of those are delivered safely, well and compassionately by our staff. That isn't to downplay any individual tragedies, which again, I offer my sincere apologies.
I'm going to say one baby, one family, that's one too many, isn't it?
We strive to deliver the safest and most effective compassionate services we can. And, you know, when we fall short, my job now is to ensure that we can put that right.
So clearly a lot of work to do. How are you going to deliver?
So we responded already to some of the immediate concerns in the Care Quality Commission's report. We're in the maternity safety programme, working with NHS England. We're also setting up a maternity and neonatal improvement board, which will have an independent chair from outside the trust and representation and the voice of patients and families and our frontline staff to help develop the improvements.
And we know that the CQC will continue to monitor the trust. Are you confident that going forward that standards will be raised?
I can give you that assurance. We're working with NHS England. We're in the maternity safety programme. We continue to work with the CQC to provide them assurance. My priority now is to focus on making those improvements to make us as safe and effective and compassionate as we possibly can be.
Professor Phil Wood, thank you for your time this evening.
Thank you.
Next tonight, the assisted dying bill proposed by Spen Valley MP Kim Leadbeater has narrowly passed through the Commons. This vote doesn't guarantee this will happen. It will head next to the House of Lords, but it is now likely. Well, our political reporter Gemma Dillon joins us now. Gemma, just remind us, what is this bill and why has it been so controversial?
Yeah, Amanda, I don't think we can underestimate just what a huge shift this is for the country. Remember, this isn't official government legislation. It was a private member's bill put forward, as you say, by the Spen Valley MP Kim Leadbeater. And MPs, some of them elected for the first time less than a year ago, were given a free vote on this. They weren't told how to vote, and the House of Commons benches were packed today. Remember, on a Friday they normally head back to their constituencies, but they really wanted to have a say on this. Now, It's a highly emotive issue, clearly, for lots of people. And whilst opinion polls have shown a steady shift towards support for the idea of assisted dying, that wasn't what MPs were voting on today. They were voting on this specific piece of legislation, whether it was robust enough, whether there were enough safeguards in place, safeguards to protect some of the most vulnerable people in the country at the end of their life. They backed it, and here was Kim Leadbeater's response.
What we've done with this huge change, and I appreciate that, is we've given people choice and dignity where they might not otherwise have it. And the other good thing about choice is you don't have to do it. So we've just created that opportunity for anybody who might want it, or even just the reassurance of it. And that's what people in other jurisdictions say. They might never do it, and about 30 to 40% of people don't. But the reassurance and the comfort that this choice provides, it's immeasurable.
Now, it passed narrowly, with some MPs changing their minds since the last vote. Why is this?
So it passed by 314 votes in favour, 291 against, a majority of 23. So that's a smaller majority than it received at its second reading back in November. In our part of the world, 30 MPs backed it, 15 opposed, and 3 didn't record a vote. Now, some MPs, opposed this bill, the legislation, on principle. But for others, it was this specific piece of legislation they felt they couldn't support. For example, the Calder Valley MP, Josh Fenton Glynn, he supports the principles of assisted dying, but thinks that this bill lacks safeguards to protect against both family and medical coercion.
So what's been the reaction?
Well, clearly, because it is a debate so passionately felt on both sides, it's been very mixed. For those in favour and supporting assisted dying, they are pleased with this change. Dame Esther Ranson, of course, who's been very vocal in her support of this, said the result will make a huge positive difference. But for other disability campaigners like Dame Tanny Gray-Thompson, she said disabled people that she's spoken to are absolutely terrified. Here in Yorkshire, I've spoken to Dee Cowburn, whose daughter Tilly has Rett syndrome. It's a life-limiting condition, and she's got big concerns about the legislation.
I worry, as I did in November, that children like Tilly and young adults who are significantly poorly, that they have life-limiting conditions, might be pulled in as an unintended consequence of this bill as the years go by.
So what happens next, Gemma? Will this become law?
So it's cleared this hurdle, but there is more to come. It's off now to the House of Lords. They don't normally oppose government legislation, but this is a private member's bill. I think they will scrutinise this bill, put forward amendments. But I think there is a feeling that there has been so much support in the House of Commons for it, such a significant change as well. It's unlikely that they'll reject it, but I think this debate campaigning will continue to try and make sure this legislation is as robust and the best piece of legislation for assisted dying that we can get.
Gemma, thank you for bringing us up to date. Now, you're watching Friday's Look North. Still to come on tonight's programme. Celebrating midlife body confidence, we're in Scarborough for a special photo shoot by the sea. Some more news from around the region now. An imam at the UK's largest mosque has been jailed for 13 years for sexually assaulting a teenage boy. 57-year-old Mohammed Khan used his position at Bradford Grand Mosque to groom and assault the boy during the 1990s. Tom Ingle was in court this morning.
Mohammed Khan from Sheffield was a teacher at a Bradford mosque in the 1990s. There he befriended a young teenage boy, buying him gifts and winning the trust of his family. But in reality, he was grooming him, and then he raped him 5 times. The abuse took place in the mosque itself, in Khan's private staff accommodation, and on one occasion on a minibus. The court heard opportunities to stop Khan were missed. It wasn't until the victim was a grown man he confided in others. Khan had already gone to prison for 16 years, this time for the sexual abuse of 2 boys at a mosque in Stoke-on-Trent in 2009. Today the judge said the circumstances of that abuse, compared with Bradford, were strikingly similar. When Khan was released on licence in 2019, the parole board knew nothing of the Bradford abuse. When those allegations did come to light in 2023, he was recalled to prison. Earlier this week, on what should have been the first day of his trial, he pleaded guilty. Today, the judge sentenced him to 13 years in prison and a further 3 years on licence, saying Khan was still a risk of committing an offence. A statement from Khan's victim was read to the court. It said, "Khan destroyed my life. He has passed on me a life sentence, and I don't say that lightly." Tom Ingle, BBC Look North, Bradford Crown Court.
A 79-year-old woman who was hit by a bus in Leeds city centre has died. After suffering serious injuries on Vicar Lane on Monday just before 2 p.m, she passed away in hospital on Wednesday. She's not been named, but family have described her as a deeply loved mother, sister and friend. West Yorkshire Police are appealing for witnesses. Police are trying to track down a suspect on the run after a teenager was killed in a hit-and-run incident in Sheffield earlier this month. 16-year-old Abdullah Yasser Abdullah Al-Yazidi was walking down Staniford Road in Darnall when he was hit by an Audi on the 4th of June. South Yorkshire Police are now trying to find a 22-year-old, that's Zayn Ahmed, in connection with his death. They say he has links to Sheffield, Worksop and Birmingham. 3 other men have been charged with murder and 3 counts of attempted murder. Now, a summer of sport has officially started with one of the biggest dates in the cricket calendar, England versus India, getting underway at Headingley. It's a 5-match series and the start of the World Test Championship with Yorkshire's Joe Root and Harry Brook part of England's lineup. And this morning, fans poured into the stadium ready to cheer on their favourites. Our reporter Sally Hurst was there.
India! I love cricket, so whoever wins, it's okay. But yeah, I support India.
It doesn't get much bigger than this.
Come on, England!
The start of an international test series, 19,500 tickets sold, and no chance of rain stopping play.
Day 1, test 1, and the sellout crowd here at Headingley. The heat is rising, the crowd is gathering. If you're a cricket fan, this is the place to be.
India! India!
Well, it's massive, isn't it? England versus India, great test match. The sun's shining in Leeds, which doesn't happen very often. So we're hoping for a great day's cricket.
We are here. We are very excited. We have come all the way to watch this match.
Where have you come from?
York.
Come all the way from York.
They do indeed, and day 1 of the first test has just closed with India on 359 for 3. A brand new exhibit will open its doors for the first time tomorrow at the Cliff Castle Museum in Keighley as part of Bradford's City of Culture celebrations. The Ice Age Art Now exhibit displays objects that were made at the end of the Ice Age almost 24,000 years ago. It features artefacts that have never been displayed outside of the British Museum.
It's been great to share the knowledge, the expertise, but also great to say 15,000, 20,000 years after some of these things were made, it's still relevant to us now. It's still the same as what you can see being done across this whole city of culture, you know, with music and dance and painting and drawing. I mean, it's just fantastic.
Now, a group of women in Scarborough have donned their swimming costumes for a new campaign celebrating midlife body confidence. The women, aged 40, there they are, and over, hope to shine a spotlight on the lack of representation of older women in fashion and swimwear. The ladies pose for a special photo shoot, as well as spreading the message that every woman is already beach body ready.
I do a lot of work around body confidence. I do a lot of swimwear modelling, but there's still such a big gap in the market for representation. So to see women coming together today, people that we've never met before, joining us on the beach in their swimwear, strutting their stuff, is going to be a really special day.
It's so important that we help other midlife women to feel confident
self-acceptance, body confidence, all the things that they might struggle with. We have so much drummed into us through media, become beach body ready, but we're all beach body ready.
Women need to know that you still have a lot of life left to live, and it can be absolutely amazing, and I feel I'm living proof of that. You know, this is my biggest size I have ever been. I'm obviously the oldest I've ever been, but I'm also the most confident I've ever been.
Oh, fantastic to see. Now, knitting and swimming, not hobbies that you'd usually combine, but it's making for a rather unusual form of fundraising this evening. A new charity has been set up in memory of 17-year-old Liz Hatton from Harrogate, who died from a rare form of cancer. The charity is called Capture, and it's holding its first official fundraising event tonight. It's a 24-hour splash and stitch, and Beth Parsons is there for us this evening.
It is a fundraising event combining two hobbies I don't think I've ever said in the same sentence. It's called Splash and Stitch. It's combining knitting and swimming. It's a 24-hour challenge. Started at 2 today, going on until 2 tomorrow afternoon. This is our gang of knitters. Hello, everybody. This is also Vicky, Liz's mum, who will come back to in just a second. But first, perfectly timed, Matteo. Well done. This is Liz's brother, and this was your idea. What is happening today?
Well, it wasn't really my idea.
Tell us what's happening, though.
So I'm knitting and swimming alternatively for 24 hours.
Are you sure you've got the energy for this?
Yeah.
Yeah? What do you think your sister Liz would say if she could see you in action today?
She would be amazed of how far I've come.
Yeah.
And both of my hobbies.
Well, you're doing a brilliant job. I'll let you get back to it. He doesn't want to pause for too long. He said he'd do it for 24 hours, and that includes breaks for television. Let's come and chat to Vicky. This is an incredible event. It's the first official fundraiser for Capture the charity. What is the money going to be spent on?
It's going to be spent on palliative care research for young people with a cancer that has a survival rate of less than 15%, like desmoplastic small round cell tumour that Liz had. There is no research currently out there that takes into account young people's views, and we think that's really important. Dr. Bob at LGI was a huge game changer for Liz because he listened to what we want that to be an opportunity available for every teenager, and that's why we hope people support us by coming along to Hollins Hall or by sponsoring Matteo and the guys doing their challenge by going to Just Giving Capture Desmoplastic.
Wonderful. Vicky, thank you so much. Let's have a bit of a cheer from the knitters. Well done. Yay! And a bit of a splash from the swimmers. Give it a splash.
Oh, what a fantastic effort. Now, with temperatures soaring this afternoon, some of our Yorkshire animals are finding a way to bear it. Polar bears at the Yorkshire Wildlife Park have been given ice blocks to play with in their pond today. The rangers in Doncaster say they've been making sure all the animals are staying cool. Nobby, Hamish, Luca, Indiana, Yuma and Sisu are the UK's largest collection of polar bears. Can't be easy though to keep a polar bear cool in the heat, can it, Kat? I mean, good grief, that's tough.
I know. Do you know, I've been reading tips actually on how to keep cool in this weather.
Go on.
Apparently one is put your socks in the fridge.
Oh.
For a couple of hours. So when you get into bed, you put the socks on and yeah, apparently it cools you down. There we go.
I have never heard of that one. I shall try it this evening.
Yeah, me too. Good evening to you. Well, I think the best of the sunshine today was definitely earlier on in the day. Sue caught these lovely sunny spells along the coast. You can just see that cloud making that sunshine appear a little bit hazy, but I do think for many of us later on in the afternoon, you can see from the second photo here, there was far more cloud around compared with yesterday, and it has felt hot. Parts of the region have hit 29 degrees, Sheffield, Leaming for example, and it could get even hotter by a couple of degrees tomorrow. So thank you as always for sending in your pictures. If you'd like your picture on the telly, you can send it in to us via social media or head straight to the Weather Watchers website. So I think tomorrow is really going to be the last of the heat, and we are at risk of some showers potentially heavy and thundery ones. So we do have a weather warning in force for those thunderstorms. That's valid from 3 o'clock tomorrow afternoon, and that runs right through until the early hours on Sunday. But if you're not a fan of the heat, of course this weather's not for everybody. You'll be happy to hear Sunday these westerly winds, cooler westerly winds will pull in, so it's going to be a much fresher day and cooler into next week with temperatures in the high teens, low 20s. So any lingering showers will clear through this evening. By the end of the night it'll be dry for all areas with long clear spells and a gentle breeze. Temperatures will fall away to around 15, maybe a 16 degrees, so it's going to be a humid night, quite uncomfortable for sleeping. And your next high waters, we've got Scarborough at 12:52 tomorrow afternoon, and then Filey at 1:03. So yes, a humid start to Saturday morning. We'll start off dry and bright with good spells of sunshine at first, but these showers will start to pull in from the southwest. You can see the green indicating the heavier bursts, and there is the risk of a few thunderstorms too. Remember, we do have that weather warning in force for thunderstorms tomorrow. Just take a look at our temperatures. 29 degrees again in places, wouldn't rule out a 30 degrees, and Sunday is going to be a fresher day. Looks like those westerly winds are going to pull in through the day. So look at the temperatures on Sunday, the drop off there, 22 degrees. So it's going to be a much cooler start into next week. Amanda.
Kat, thank you very much. I've been pondering your tip about socks in the freezer. I'm just wondering what happens when they're frozen. How do you get them on your feet?
True, didn't think about that one.
There you go. Well, ponder that until the late bulletin. Goodbye.